Today, I'm going to be making the 6th chapter to my Mascot horror game series, Propeller Pete. And for this chapter, I'm completely switching up the game. There's going to be new mascots, new levels, and also tons of new lore. So be sure to watch until the end. But before we get into all that, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Game Maker. Have you ever wanted to make a mascot horror game yourself? Well, Game Maker is a super easy to use game engine where you can create all sorts of crazy fun and wild games like Undertale, Pizza Tower, or Heartbound. You can make whatever kind of game you dream up. Want to create a game where you dodge giant pizzas falling from the sky? You can do it with Game Maker. If you've ever thought game development was too hard, Game Maker makes it really easy with their super simple visual scripting tools. It's perfect for both beginners and experienced game creators alike. Plus, Game Maker is totally free. Something I find super cool about Game Maker is that everything you need to make a game is already included in the software, so you'll never need to switch programs to edit a script, for example. Game Maker also provides a ton of easy-to-follow tutorials for all skill levels. They also have plenty of pre-made game templates that are great examples to help you understand how the games are made. The Game Maker community is really great too. Whether you want to chat, ask questions, or learn from other game developers, Game Maker's Discord server is the perfect place to connect with other people who love making games just as much as you do. So if you're ready to start creating your own games, go download Game Maker for free using the link in the description below. Now anyways, on to the video. Over a year ago now, my friend Stopshut and I released a mascot horror game made in 24 hours called Propeller Pete, and we've now made 6 different chapters of the game. Most recently, a chapter 5. And since you guys seem to still love the game and want more, I decided that I should make a chapter 6. But before I started working on a chapter 6, I needed to develop a story that would take place immediately after the ending of chapter 5. Because if you remember, at the end of the last game, you just fall down a giant chute into the darkness. So because of that, I decided that the chute should dump you right into a new, hidden environment. You would land in this massive underground submarine testing facility, which serves as the intro to the game and also explains tons of the backstory. But before we get into that, I actually had to open the project and start working. The first thing I had to do was lay out all the new levels for the game. In the previous chapters, we've had airports, harbors, and truck stops. So for chapter 6, I felt like I needed to go a little deeper. Literally. So I started brainstorming, and since the player fell to an underground level, I knew it would be perfect to make it into a secret aquatic base. So I got to work. I decided to use this Metro maintenance station pack off the Unreal Marketplace as the base for my underground level. Using the base map, I remade the entire environment into a dark-looking testing facility. I added water into the area where you fell and water into the testing area, as well as a sign that indicates what the facility is and a vending machine like in the first 5 chapters. I also made the level way darker and relit the entire thing as well. And after all that, it honestly looked pretty good. But obviously, since this is a submarine testing facility, I needed to build the submarine. And this is where the real meat of the game happens. No minced reference intended. I decided that after you explore the facility, and after you hear the lore of the underground testing area, a cutscene plays of the submarine surfacing in the facility, which you then board to start the main level. To make this submarine and the cutscene, I first needed a really good sub model, obviously. So I hit up Sketchfab and grabbed this awesome looking military submarine model. I then took that same static mesh and remade the entire thing inside a blueprint, so I could add these custom lights and noise and engine sound effects, because, you know, immersion. After that, I opened up the sequencer to handle the cinematic reveal, where I created a level sequence for the entire submarine's entrance, making it rise out of the water just like a real one. Anyways, once you're inside the sub, I used a combination of both box brushes and some assets from this abandoned ship pack to carve out the interior. To make it feel super claustrophobic and accurate, I added an engine room, a bunch of rusty pipes, an area for the crew, and a main control room. But honestly, just standing inside a submarine while it moves is pretty boring, so I knew I had to add some form of puzzle, so it's not just a walking simulator. So I scripted a new system where you have to manage 2 main components to keep the submarine alive: the engine power and the navigation system. These things are constantly breaking down and losing power. To make this work, I turned both the engine power lever and the nav system each into their own blueprint actors and added some messy logic to handle the chaos. For the engine, I basically just made a float variable that drains every single frame, so you constantly have to run over and hold E to fill that variable back up. If the variable goes to 0, you'll need to go and hold the lever to fuel the power back up again. Then for the navigation, I set up a randomizer that occasionally jams the radar, which can be fixed by pressing E. But it can't be heard when it fails like the engine can, meaning you need to check up on it more frequently. And here's where the stress kicks in. I set up a branch node that checks if both systems are failing at the same time. If that returns true, it triggers a 10-second delay. If you don't fix at least one of them before the delay finishes, the submarine stalls out. But why is it so bad if the submarine stalls out? Well, that's because if it does stall out, then you'll meet the newest mascot for the Propeller Pete franchise, Sally Submarine. I left a big hint in the last video as to what the next mascot was going to be, so hopefully this satisfies all the comments that told me to add her. Anyways, making Sally was a whole process. To keep with the theme, I first stole the eyes off the other mascots, then I grabbed this cartoon submarine model I found on Sketchfab and just slapped the face right onto the hull. After that, I just changed some coloring around and animated her propeller to spin, and boom, Sally was born. And honestly, she looks pretty terrifying. But here's where things get a bit different. In almost every other chapter, the mascot visibly chases you around. But since giant military submarines don't have windows, you can't see Sally until it's too late. But just know, once the first malfunction occurs, she's always following behind you. And if the timer hits 0 and your sub stalls, then it's over. If Sally catches you, I made this awesome custom cutscene where she completely destroys your submarine. It honestly took forever to animate properly, but it looks super cool. And the best part is that I don't have to add a single Mixamo twerking joke. Anyways, the whole game now is basically this management panic where you're running back and forth inside your sub, priming the nav system and filling the engine, all while you hear Sally gliding closer to you in the dark. If you can keep the sub going long enough, you'll eventually progress to the end. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but let's just say what you find at the surface changes everything for the lore. And speaking of lore, the final thing I needed to do was scatter hidden details throughout the game. So I made some of these posters and placed them around the level, but I also added hidden lore explaining why Sally was built. And even inside your own submarine, there's a voice message I added that gives you clues on how to beat the game. And with that, I think that the game is pretty good. Instead of dropping it right away though, I think I'm going to make a few more games, then drop them all at once, a little closer to Christmas. So make sure to write in the comments more game ideas that you'd like to see me make. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And once it comes out, recommend Propeller Pete Chapter 6 to your favorite YouTuber and streamer to play. Also, make sure to click the link below to check out GameMaker. Alright,